Upon arriving at the prestigious school for the first time, the boy heard a strange melody. He followed the notes all the way into an old piano room, but the melody stopped abruptly right then.
不好意思，刚刚是你弹的吗？
不是，
这个没有别人啊。
是啦。
哦。
Strangely, although they had clearly just met for the first time, a shy flutter of excitement seemed to hide in each other's eyes. He thought their encounter was just a chance meeting, but after returning to the classroom, Xianglun was surprised to discover that he and the girl were actually classmates. The girl's figure became a unique scenery for Xianglun in class. He couldn't help but look back frequently, and then secretly laughed out loud. That unconcealable throb was also fully seen by the girl. As the sea breeze carried away the fatigue of the setting sun, the dismissal bell quietly rang. Xianglun couldn't restrain his desire to go up and strike up a conversation, but unexpectedly, in just the blink of an eye, the girl had vanished into the crowd.
哎，你干嘛跟着我？
没有啊。
没有，那再见喽。
哎，有了。
Xianglun hurriedly chased after her and quickly asked for the name of the piece she played in the old piano room. But the girl playfully stood on her tiptoes.
这是不能说的秘密。
Xianglun was confused. How could a song be a secret? But the girl's spirited eyes silently plucked at his heartstrings.
你叫什么名字啊？
大老远就听到你的声音，这里是学校，不是让你泡妞的地方。
On the other end, the girl encountered light rain on her way home, and Xianglun followed closely behind and caught up. Raindrops fell thick and fast, so they had to take shelter together under the shade of the roadside trees. This narrow space couldn't fully block the light rain, but it inadvertently brought them closer. When the rain let up a bit, Xianglun rode his bicycle to take the girl home. But no matter what question he asked the girl, she would always cleverly brush it off by saying it was a secret. The wheels carried the fragrance of the surrounding soil, and their laughter echoed in the quiet aftermath of the rain. Unknowingly, they arrived at the girl's door. Watching the girl's figure gradually move away, Xianglun finally summoned the courage to ask for her name.
你叫什么名字啊？
我叫陆小雨。
我叫叶湘伦。
Only after watching Xiaoyu disappear behind the door did Xianglun reluctantly turn to leave. But the next day during morning exercises, he unexpectedly found that Xiaoyu did not come to school today. And right up until class time, there was no trace of her. During the break, Xianglun went to that old piano room to practice the piano, but suddenly 2 students from the rugby team barged in. Following closely behind was their coach, and Xianglun covered for them. Only after the coach left did the 2 come out from the cabinet on the side. The 3 of them became acquainted this way. Just as he was leaving the piano room in low spirits, Xiaoyu suddenly ran over from the side.
你今天早上怎么没上课啊？
我刚去练琴啊。
Her answer confused Xianglun. Xianglun just quietly gazed at Xiaoyu's innocent, smiling face. He also clearly understood that he had already fallen for this girl. After school, they walked side by side on the way home as usual. Treading on the dappled light and shadows cast by the afterglow of the sunset, it was as if a quiet painting was slowly unfolding in their hearts. They would go to the lakeside to eat ice cream cones together, but strangely, Xiaoyu said she had never eaten a cone before. The next morning, Xiaoyu carefully counted her steps and arrived at the back door of the classroom. But when she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Qingyi sitting in Xianglun's seat. At this moment, Xianglun is in the music room, locked in a piano duel with a classmate. His opponent is the school's celebrated piano prince, and everyone thinks Xianglun is completely out of his depth. But to everyone's surprise, facing the piano prince's flowing skills, Xianglun not only didn't retreat a bit, but gradually took control of the rhythm, his dancing fingertips becoming more composed. Finally, when the applause rang out at the end of the song, the victory belonged to him. The opponent also generously gave an extremely rare music score to Xianglun. Such outstanding piano skills naturally won Qingyi's heart. But Xianglun was melancholic that he couldn't share this joy with Xiaoyu. However, Xiaoyu would always suddenly barge into his world inadvertently, and Xianglun slowly got used to this abrupt way of greeting. Xianglun loved to deliberately make jokes that made Xiaoyu frown. Although he knew she would get angry, he tirelessly enjoyed watching her puff up her cheeks. But even though their relationship was as fragile as a cicada's wing, Xianglun still felt he was just an ordinary boy causing no ripples.
我能遇见你已经是很不可思议了。
你为什么这么神秘啊？
你追得到我，我就跟你讲。
With Xiaoyu's company, the melody flowing from Xianglun's fingertips seemed to become softer. Every note he played seemed to compose every memory between them into the melody. Even the four-hand duet, which required a high degree of tacit understanding, had no stagnation between them. Between the rise and fall of their fingertips, the notes interwove seamlessly, as if they had already collaborated thousands of times. Such a beautiful melody attracted the homeroom teacher.
怎么只有你一个人？你们这些学生啊，真的是，就当我没看到。
But at this moment, Xiaoyu was staring at the portrait of Chopin on the wall, frequently lost in thought. That genius who wrote love into musical movements ultimately couldn't make it to the end with his beloved. On the way back, Xiaoyu was always absent-minded. Perhaps she was moved by Chopin's story, or perhaps she suddenly remembered a secret she dared not speak. But regardless, they tacitly chose to cherish each other's company in the present. It just wasn't long before they were near Xiaoyu's house, and seeing this, Xianglun turned the bike around, taking Xiaoyu away from this warm little town. They then arrived at a misty hilltop. Xianglun also gradually realized at this moment that his originally monotonous and boring life had quietly sketched out a touch of color and warmth precisely because of Xiaoyu's appearance. During the break that day, Qingyi, who had long harbored a secret crush on Xianglun, finally summoned the courage, hoping he could ride his bicycle to take her home. But seeing Xianglun's awkward face, Qingyi politely withdrew her request.
等一下可以骑脚踏车送我回家吗？
今天好像有人没上课哦。
谁说的？我刚刚琴房练琴啊。
Subsequently, Xianglun took Xiaoyu to climb the wall and skip class, and they went to Xianglun's favorite CD shop together. He let Xiaoyu listen to his favorite song. Listening to that melodious movement, Xiaoyu could no longer suppress the throb in her heart and kissed Xianglun. Shyly, she then hurriedly ran away. Immediately after, they went to the roof of Xiaoyu's house together. But right at this moment, Xiaoyu suddenly had a racing heart, and her breathing became very difficult. After using her medicine, she unreservedly told Xianglun the truth that she suffered from asthma. Afterwards, Xiaoyu wanted to tell Xianglun a secret. Xianglun was full of anticipation, thinking he would learn Xiaoyu's real secret.
数过，从琴房那教室总共108步。
这我也数过啊，从这边到那边，一共5步。1、2、3、4、5。
Xianglun felt instantly disappointed, but Xiaoyu's sweet smile was so real. He took out the swan music score he won at the piano duel from his backpack. Xiaoyu was very moved after receiving it. This was exactly the score she had always wanted, but never found. And Xianglun suddenly realized at this moment that Xiaoyu seemed to always be solitary, without friends.
那你喜欢我吗？
Xiaoyu's sudden question left Xianglun stunned. Xianglun didn't say much, simply sealing the sweet memory of this moment with a kiss. From that day on, they officially established their relationship. Later, the students from the rugby team held a school dance, and Xianglun was invited to participate as the pianist. When he walked into the dance floor with Xiaoyu, time seemed to slow down a little at this moment, and the story of youth quietly bloomed in their clasped palms. But just as the dance was ending, a strange girl suddenly ran over.
下次如果没有伴，可以找我啊。
After ending all this, they went to the piano room to practice again. But Xianglun suddenly mentioned that the old piano room where they first met would be demolished on graduation day. Hearing this news, Xiaoyu felt instantly disappointed. After organizing her thoughts, she decided to teach the song from the first day to Xianglun, but she sped up every note by a few degrees.
不要在旧琴房弹这首曲子哦。
够了。
因为旧琴弹起来不好听啊。
Facing Xiaoyu's strange words, Xianglun didn't mind, simply saying that he had specially prepared a piano piece for her, which he would give to her at the graduation ceremony. After returning home from school, Xianglun asked his father what food would be good for the trachea, but his father said a lot of irrelevant things and demanded Xianglun dance with him. When the song was over, his father just used "an apple a day keeps the doctor away" to put off Xianglun's inquiry. But Xianglun believed it firmly and would bring apples for Xiaoyu every day. However, for a long time after that, Xiaoyu didn't come to class. When they met again, Xianglun had already prepared 15 apples for Xiaoyu.
你会不会喜欢别的女生？
会啊，15个。
Facing Xianglun's joke, Xiaoyu was very angry. So during class, he wrote a note and passed it to the last row, hoping Xiaoyu could meet him at the old piano room at 7 o'clock. When night fell, Xianglun had already been waiting there for a long time. Hearing someone approaching, he closed his eyes tight and pointed to his lips. But the person who came was not Xiaoyu, but Qingyi. And hearing Dayong outside shouting Xiaoyu's name, Xianglun hurriedly ran out. But until he reached the end of the corridor, he didn't find any trace of Xiaoyu. He ran out of the school building, his lonely figure reflecting under the moonlight. Xianglun waited in front of Xiaoyu's house all night, finally waiting for an auntie coming back from shopping. Seeing the apples fall, Xianglun hurriedly stepped forward to help, and this person was exactly Xiaoyu's mother. Watching the auntie walk into the house, Xianglun wanted to ask, but stopped himself. After school that day, Xianglun planned to ride his bike home as usual, but was blocked by Qingyi.
你没有话要跟我说吗？
我不知道我应该说什么。
Watching Xianglun's figure gradually fade into the distance, Qingyi's heart remained unsettled for a long time. For a long time after that, Xiaoyu didn't come to school. Xianglun would always play sad tunes at home. Seeing his son looking depressed, the father forced himself to play high-spirited tunes on the side, but this made Xianglun's emotions even more complicated. The next day, Xianglun summoned the courage to go to Xiaoyu's door, only to be told by her mother that Xiaoyu had already dropped out due to an asthma attack, and she hoped Xianglun wouldn't disturb her anymore. Although Xianglun had many words he wanted to pour out to Xiaoyu, reality forced him to bury that longing in the bottom of his heart. But strangely, whenever he went to the old piano room to play that four-hand duet piece, he would feel that Xiaoyu was right beside him, never having left. Mundane days are always fleeting, and in the blink of an eye, the season changed its appearance. 5 months of time quietly slipped through the fingers, and Xianglun gradually got used to life without Xiaoyu. Under Qingyi's repeated requests, Xianglun agreed to ride his bicycle to take her home. He thought he could gradually forget that encounter in early spring, but when he came to that CD shop again and listened to a favorite melody, the memory of meeting and knowing Xiaoyu would still slowly emerge from the corner of his heart. On the day of the graduation ceremony, Qingyi lent her hair tie to Xianglun and said it would bring him good luck. Then Xianglun slowly paced to the center of the stage. The spotlight spilled onto him, and the enthusiasm from the classmates in the audience surged towards him like waves, and Xianglun, accompanied by the rhythm in his heart, gradually let the longing for Xiaoyu leap onto his fingertips. At the same time, Xiaoyu had unknowingly arrived outside the auditorium door. Listening to the melodious and tactful movement beside her ears, she realized Xianglun's concern for her, and unknowingly, her eyes became moist. And just at this moment, Xianglun also saw Xiaoyu not far away. The moment their eyes met, Xiaoyu's long-suppressed emotions completely burst, and Xianglun resolutely gave up the performance, turning to follow Xiaoyu out of the room. At Xianglun's call, Xiaoyu gradually stopped her steps. When she looked back and saw the eyes of her beloved, it was as if the whole world stood still, and all grievances turned into tears. But precisely at this time, the father also walked out of the room, urging Xianglun to go back and continue the performance. But when he returned there, the graduation ceremony had already ended. Xianglun ignored them and ran out again. But when he went to the classroom to track Xiaoyu, he only saw those 2 members of the rugby team. Seeing it was Xianglun, the 2 cheerfully gave him a bottle of correction fluid. And just as they were about to leave, Xianglun couldn't help but ask,
你刚刚在我们班有看到一个女的吗？
女的，
就舞会跟我跳舞那个。
从头到尾不就你自己一个人在跳？
Hearing their answer, Xianglun was instantly stunned. He finally began to recall those details he had ignored, which surprisingly linked together layer by layer into the truth. Xiaoyu always came and went without a trace like the wind. Every appearance seemed like a coincidence of fate. Now thinking about it, the classmates seeing him dancing alone at the ball was actually because they couldn't see Xiaoyu at all. And being misunderstood by Qingyi on the first day was just because Xiaoyu didn't exist behind her. Last time, the reason the homeroom teacher let them off so easily wasn't because their grades were good, but because all he saw was a wall covered in graffiti. The misunderstanding about the meeting at the old piano room was all because Xiaoyu's seat had always been empty. As the truth gradually became clear, Xianglun's chest tightened. Those smiles and gentleness that he once thought were real suddenly became illusory. Xiaoyu perhaps never belonged to this world, but right at this moment, traces of correction fluid suddenly appeared on Xiaoyu's desk, and Xianglun was instantly stunned by the scene before him. Strangely, the marks clearly just appeared, but in an instant became dilapidated. Seeing the other party state that she was indeed Xiaoyu, Xianglun hurriedly asked where she was now, but Xiaoyu didn't reply to his words, and every stroke appeared very difficult. Finally, she wrote down the love she had hidden for a long time, and also wrote out her confusion and uneasiness about this relationship. Seeing this, Xianglun tried his best to draw a heart with the correction fluid, but couldn't wait for any response. Subsequently, he hurriedly went outside Xiaoyu's house. Disregarding the deep night, he frantically called Xiaoyu's name. And this time, Xiaoyu's mother didn't resist Xianglun's visit. But when Xianglun slowly paced into Xiaoyu's bedroom, he discovered that the room was playing the song they loved the most. And Xiaoyu had already passed away 20 years ago. Xianglun saw the swan score on the bookshelf, but it was snatched away by Xiaoyu's mother. When she saw that the portrait on it looked exactly like Xianglun, she realized that what her daughter had said was actually true. After returning home, the father looked at the photo he once took with Xiaoyu and gradually recalled that past event. It turned out Xiaoyu was a student in 1979. Her grades were excellent at the time, but she always said some strange things. Xiaoyu had always respected Sir Yip, so she told him the secret hidden in her heart. The cause of the matter was on the first day of school. Xiaoyu accidentally found an old music score under the piano in the old piano room. The piano score was titled Secret. Driven by curiosity, Xiaoyu began to try playing this piece. As the notes flowed through the entire piano room, everything around underwent earth-shaking changes. Immediately after, Xiaoyu successfully traveled 20 years into the future. And just as she was hiding the score, she accidentally met Xianglun, who suddenly barged in. After walking out of the piano room, Xiaoyu discovered that other students couldn't perceive her existence. She went to many classrooms, but when Xiaoyu returned to her own classroom, she was surprised to find that Xianglun was in the same classroom. So she pretended to be a student who arrived late and silently sat in her seat. Xiaoyu also tried counting many times before finally memorizing that it was exactly 108 steps from the piano room to the classroom. And when she opened her eyes, she would see Xianglun's back. The night the note was passed, Xiaoyu had also traveled over, but she accidentally bumped into Da Yong, who was cleaning when walking out the door. Just as they were talking, Qingyi happened to walk over, and Xiaoyu saw their intimate scene through the glass from outside. So when Xianglun heard Da Yong's voice and ran out, he didn't see the heartbroken Xiaoyu, because no one would believe her story about traveling through time. Xiaoyu, with nowhere to place her heart, had to tell Sir Yip about what happened in recent days. At this time, Sir Yip didn't have a son yet. Sir Yip urged Xiaoyu to forget this past, and Xiaoyu listened to him, taking out the music score from her bag and giving it to him for safekeeping. Xiaoyu hoped Sir Yip could help her keep this secret. But in order to help Xiaoyu walk out of the gloom, Sir Yip told Xiaoyu's mother about this matter the next day. And he also entrusted the class monitor to take more care of Xiaoyu during break time. But how could the simple Sir Yip understand the petty thoughts among students? The class monitor had been jealous of Xiaoyu for a long time. Soon the news of her illness spread throughout the school, and she even suffered malicious speculation from delinquents. Afterwards, Xiaoyu chose to drop out, with only the lingering sound of the piano accompanying her. Even her mother, who was with her day and night and should have believed her the most, was certain that Xiaoyu had a mental illness and prepared medication for her. This cut Xiaoyu to the heart. Her already crumbling belief collapsed instantly, tears streaming down her cheeks like the fragments of her inner struggle, unable to be made whole again. This was the reason why Xianglun hadn't seen Xiaoyu for 5 months. But whenever the night grew quiet, Xiaoyu's longing would always rise to the surface, and she began trying to draw what Xianglun looked like. Approaching the graduation ceremony, Sir Yip visited her home, hoping Xiaoyu could go to school to take graduation photos. Xiaoyu wanted to refuse, but thinking of the promise Xianglun made in the old piano room, she chose to return to school again. After taking the photo, Xiaoyu went back to the old piano room, and guided by the music, she returned to 20 years later. Xiaoyu wanted to stay there forever, but when bidding farewell to Xianglun at the end of the corridor, she inadvertently glimpsed Qingyi's hair tie. This caused Xiaoyu's heart to plummet to rock bottom. She returned to 20 years earlier and, with tears in her eyes, wrote down her questions about that unforgettable love. But due to emotional agitation, her asthma attacked again at this moment. Without her medicine, she ultimately couldn't withstand the invasion of the illness and collapsed forever on that desk. Subsequently, Xianglun's father took out Xiaoyu's music score from the bookshelf, intending to show it to his son. But Xianglun had long since disappeared. At this time, he was running frantically towards the school. Tonight, the old piano room would be demolished. When Xianglun arrived, the construction team had already finished setting up. He dodged the staff's sight, climbed up to the piano room from the steel frame on the side, and then played that piece at the fastest speed. On the other end, the father was browsing through that music score at home. Written boldly on it was Xiaoyu's message from 20 years ago, and in the top right corner of the page, Xianglun's name was hidden. The father finally believed the truth of Xiaoyu's time travel at this moment. He endured the pain in his heart and rushed to the school, trying to stop his son from doing something foolish, but the pace of construction did not stop. The scattered debris of the house did not interrupt Xianglun's playing. Until the end of the last note, all the memories related to Xiaoyu emerged in Xianglun's mind. And just as the heavy hammer was about to smash down, Xianglun successfully traveled back to the space-time where Xiaoyu existed. But because the piano was played too fast, this time travel exceeded 20 years, and Xiaoyu at this time didn't know him yet. But fortunately, they still had the chance to get to know each other again. And at the graduation ceremony in 1979, their meeting held up the entire sky for each other. Secret tells a story of love traveling through time and space, but it goes far beyond the scope of a romantic story. The encounter between Xianglun and Xiaoyu seems to be a joke played by fate, but it is also the softest touch deep in each other's souls. That piano piece is like a bridge of time, connecting their emotions tightly, spanning the distance of years. Love is not just sweet companionship for them, but more like a warm and deep medicine, quietly soothing the pain in the bottom of each other's hearts. Life may not always be satisfactory, but as long as we carry love in our hearts, we can cross the boundaries of time and find our own hope and light. May this emotion accompany each of us to bravely face the past and embrace the future.